Hey everybody, and welcome back to the official start of the season. For those of you who are joining us now, even though it's a pre-recorded session, currently right now, Chaco and I we are watching qualifying respectively on our own screens. And yeah, I mean till now, Q1, Q2 have been quite crazy. They've thrown in about everything that we could probably expect. Surprising to see both Vettel and Ocon out. But we'll get more to Q1 and Q2 later. Right now, we're in Q3. Yeah, so I mean, up till now, we've got like multiple cars that have set lap times. Apart from Stroll, Leclerc, and Alonso, with now like 3.5 minutes to go approximately. I mean, Verstappen is on pole at the moment. Hamilton is just two hundredths of a second. Two hundredths of a second behind Verstappen. Do you really think Verstappen is going to hold that? Because we've seen him blitz through all of these sessions. I have a feeling he's going to hold on to that, even though it's just a really small margin.
Well, the one thing that is very clear in Formula One this year, at least whatever we have seen in Bahrain, is that we have two teams which are very closely packed. So it's not like 2018, 2019, where there was a diaspora of times between a lot of teams. You can actually see that the Red Bull and Verstappen is in a lot more stronger place. That car is actually in a place where it can contest for more wins compared to 2020. And I don't know if he's going to hold on to that provisional pole, which he has currently, but he is definitely going to give Hamilton a run for his money. And by the way things are going, he certainly seems to be Hamilton's contender, and it's not Bottas. So let's just see how that's going.
Well, in a certain way, I guess there's no surprises in that because for the past few years also we've seen, even though Bottas is there in the second Mercedes, it's always been another driver, whether it was Verstappen or Vettel, who was getting in the midst of trying to fight for that championship. But yeah, anyhow, right now all the cars again doing outlaps, doing their final runs for Q3. I mean, only time can tell. Really, everything's dynamic here. Another car I'm actually looking at right now is Gasly. Now we thought that his teammate's going to be up there, but it seems like Gasly is giving Bottas a run for his money. And then further down, you've got Sainz, who's just about managing to be there. Surprising to see that because he did have engine issues at the end of Q2. Do you think that's going to play into, or rather, play against him in this final session?
I don't really think so. We just have a couple of minutes left. It's just one more lap. So I think whatever they had to diagnose, they probably would have diagnosed it before this run. But yeah, man, I kind of feel bad for Yuki Tsunoda and Ocon because they really did seem like they had a chance to get into Q3 with the kind of pace they were showing throughout qualifying and even the weekend. So
Yeah.
just got it for them. But I'm really happy to say that Ferrari well are in a much better place than what they were in 2020. So this definitely does seem to be a good end to the turbo hybrid era, if you can say so.
Yeah, gradual end for sure. And we can already see that. I just saw sector times coming up. Hamilton is faster than Verstappen and effectively in the first and last sectors, which are high power sectors. So in a way, the Mercedes power unit is still doing its job. But Honda has pushed these cars right up there. We've got one, two. Well, we've only got two Honda powered cars in the top 10 at the moment, but there were at least 4 out of 5 Honda powered cars in the top 10, I believe, in Q1, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be a battle between Honda and Mercedes this year. You can already see that powertrain wise. Uh, but on that note, yeah, we're about 30 seconds left in the quali. Most drivers are on their hot lap. We're probably going to see one more set of hot laps from about half the grid. It's anyone's game at this point. Uh, which driver are you actually looking at right now? Because I'm obviously looking at Verstappen and Hamilton, but further down, I want to see what Ricardo and Norris do amongst themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's no fault looking at McLaren, but I think McLaren will be in a very good fight with Ferrari with the kind of pace they were showing. But I think it's pretty much locked and loaded for Hamilton and Verstappen for now.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. We can only know by the end of this session what the true pace of all these cars are. But yeah, but
Yeah.
Mercedes look very strong. The Red Bull looks very planted. And Leclerc and Sainz are just doing whatever they do best, driving the tractor to its best.
Yeah, I mean it's not really a tractor here, but okay, I just saw Hamilton has notched Verstappen off of first place right now, but Verstappen still has another lap to go because there's no checkered flag for him, and he's gone fastest, so it's not going to be Hamilton on pole. Looks like, uh, I guess no surprises there. Seems like Red Bull is on pole. Uh, yeah, I mean, up till now, Verstappen is Grand Slam the weekend. Let's see if it's going to be an official Grand Slam based on tomorrow's race. But yeah, this is crazy. This is a crazy end to the qualifying session. Uh, Leclerc's put up his Ferrari up there in fourth. Gasly is fifth, man. That's going to be another exciting race to see. I've got Honda in the front row. Honda in first place, Honda in fifth place. Both the McLarens rounding up the next two grid slots.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like the grid was a lot more closer in 2012, 2011, and 10. Not sure if anything past that, but damn, man, that was a very sensational lap by Max Verstappen. I mean, pulling away almost 4 tenths away from Hamilton. Yeah, that was some real guns in the back of that car. So
Yeah,
yeah, and you know what the best thing about this is now that so you have a Red Bull and you have an AlphaTauri who can run on split strategies. So the kind of things they can do to reshuffle the entire top 10 is going to be phenomenal during the race. Because I mean, I don't know about the stats of what Bahrain pulls for a safety car, but it quite certainly seems that there might be some carnage in turn one, turn two, turn three for tomorrow's race. So I'm assuming that Red Bull and AlphaTauri can shuffle up the entire grid tomorrow. Looking forward for that.
cool. So on that note, we just saw the end of Q3. Again, no surprises in the top three, but yeah, let's look at how they actually got there, or more importantly, some of the repercussions of some of the drivers being there with certain times. What we're actually going to do is look at Q2 because the Mercedes guys and Gasly set their fastest Q2 times on medium tires, and this is definitely going to play into perhaps quite radical race strategies tomorrow. What do you think is actually going to happen? Do you think Mercedes has a disadvantage or an advantage with forced medium tire starts?
I mean, we've not seen it in a way where it can perhaps be a disadvantage. We know that Mercedes are going into the weekend in many people's mind as the best team going forward. I mean, even in 2021. So, I mean, you have a driver with by the likes of Lewis Hamilton who can do wonders in that car. So I don't really think that they are at a disadvantage. But in some certainty, I would just like to point out that anyone starting on the second side of the grid, which is near the pit wall, are in a very are in an actual disadvantage because you have a lot of dust which is going to be overlaying on track. Plus, it's the dirty side of the track as well. So I think Hamilton there might have a disadvantage because he has not always had the best starts. Bottas, on the
Yeah.
other hand, will likely be in a much better place, considering he will get a slipstream from, let's say, Bottas or Verstappen getting into turn number one, all the way to turn number four in some cases.
Yep.
But I think something which you have to look out for is the fact that Red Bull and AlphaTauri can do wonders by splitting the strategy with the number two drivers. So Perez is qualified P11. He has a free choice of tires. And then you have Yuki Tsunoda, who has also a free choice of tires. So you can see these two teams possibly jumble the entire grid from 1 to 10. So yeah, I
Yep.
mean, with the addition of a safety car in as well, you can possibly never see the direction of a race as we saw last time in Sakir when Sergio Perez won.
Yeah, I mean they might be number two drivers, but both Sergio Perez and Yuki Tsunoda won at the Bahrain International Circuit in the final few rounds last year. So anything can happen. I mean, see, I don't personally think Perez is going to be challenging Verstappen for race pace, given how dominant Verstappen has been. But we can say the same about Tsunoda and Gasly. We saw Tsunoda was I think almost like 1.1 seconds off the pace when he got knocked out in Q2. But again, that could have been because of a potential yellow flag somewhere on the track. He did botch up his run, and not because of
Yeah.
his own fault. So, I mean, yeah, of course, that is talking about the drivers that were in Q2. But getting back to this tire strategy, see, for sure, Mercedes have a fast car, and they have a harder compound of tires, which is the medium tire here, C4, yeah, the C4 compound. Now, what I'm talking about here is Mercedes, of course, is they might think they're the fastest and people might think they're the fastest, but it's always going to be in the back of the mind that Verstappen has been ahead of them throughout this season, throughout this this first set of sessions, throughout this weekend. Now, the problem is because they have harder compounds, they're not going to pit as soon as Verstappen, which means that when Verstappen pits earlier, he has an advantage of an undercut. Okay, and given how big the Bahrain International Circuit is, pitting early is not really going to put him into traffic because I think Verstappen will pull away. Now, my point being, Mercedes will be out there on half-used medium tires, while Verstappen will be on fresher medium tires behind, and they won't have a reference for pace. This is a unique situation that Mercedes rarely finds themselves in, I think, having to defend an undercut like that, given Mercedes always run away in the beginning with softer compounds. So I don't know, man. I think this is going to be Max Verstappen's race. But yeah, I mean, like you said, with dust and wind, anything can happen.
No, man, completely agree with you. If Max Verstappen leads into turn number one, turn number four, and he has absolutely no glitches throughout the weekend, throughout the race tomorrow, I think it really will go in Max's favor. But we have seen by the likes of various other teams that not a lot of teams have shown their long run pace. So we don't really know what the car can do at night in Bahrain because you've only seen them perform only in the hot sun. You're going to have track temperatures of less than 30 degrees Celsius, which is barely less than optimal, perhaps. So I don't know. We'll have to see because absolutely we have no idea about the way your Aston Martin is going to run. We have no idea about the way your Alpine is going to run.
Yeah,
It was quite funny to see an Alfa Romeo in uh, in Q2 as well. So I mean, you
yeah,
really have a grid where nothing is concrete. Like I mean, even when you take Yuki Tsunoda for example, I mean, this probably might just be the one race where he just performed at the top of his game. It is early days. We can't come up with a conclusion to say that this is what it is right now. But the one thing you have mentioned very elaborately is the fact that there are so many variables involved. And one of the key things to notice is that anything can happen. Like how Murray Walker says, you can never say never in Formula One, and that is why the reason why a lot of people follow the sport because of the amount of variables in it. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the reason why we all
yeah.
sit and talk like this in all instances.
Sure, sure. I think Murray would have been proud to see such a dynamic Q3, such excitement for a season opener. We rarely see this sort of excitement. The reason excitement comes out of these sort of qualifying sessions is because a few cars have reliability issues and cars that you don't expect to be there end up being there. But here it's just raw pace. I mean, like I say, like the top seven drivers are separated are all within 1 second, right? In terms of lap time between the first and the seventh driver. That's I think that's reason enough to believe that the season is going to be exciting. Of course, it's too early to say for sure, but I mean, for the race that we're going to get, I think this is going to be a fun race to start the season with.
Yeah,
But yeah, how about
yeah,
the how
good.
about
Yeah,
the McLarens? I mean, look at the McLarens. Do you think they have something up their sleeves? Because we did see Norris put that car right up there in the earlier sessions.
before we move on to McLaren, I think there's one thing I want to uh, assert before moving on to anything else. I think that when Hamilton had an interview with Sky or somebody else during the weekend, I think he clearly said that his only contender is going to be Max Verstappen. And I think if it is Max Verstappen, he should be scared because Max looks like he's in a form much better than Rosberg in 2016 and perhaps 100 times better than what Valtteri Bottas is right now. I mean, things can turn, but this is the kind of thing we've been seeing from the back end of 2020 as well. Verstappen is really putting in some good performances as well. But moving on to McLaren, I mean, I think they have stuck to this process, and when they say trust the process, you'll have the outcomes coming in at the end. I think McLaren have everything which is already set up. They have a good team, they have a good strategy, they have strategy team, they have a decent idea of where they are in the pack, and they have two very good drivers as well. So I think Lando has matured quite well. Been doing quite He's been doing quite an excellent job in the car, and I think he's in a good place to actually lead the team while he technically isn't leading the team, but Daniel Ricciardo around. So you have the likes of a young driver, plus you have a very aggressive driver in the likes of Dan Ricciardo, who eventually is going to deliver you at least podiums somewhere in the near future. If and we have also seen that McLaren may not have had the best races in Bahrain, but you will see much better performances once you move on to the European section of the F1 Championship. That's where they have their real performances come out. And let's not uh, let's not forget the fact that this is just the first race. This is a spec A car, or let's say a spec B parenthesis A. I think that's perhaps what you could call this. You will get more updates coming in after 3 to 4 rounds, and I think a lot of teams will be bringing in subsequent upgrades, which will give out good performances. And I think McLaren will be looking forward to doing at least by Spain, I suppose.
Hopefully, rightly said. Like you said, like European tracks that are coming up later on in the season are all high performance tracks, taxing tracks. Like we already saw a few episodes before this on GPS. We were talking about how the Catalunya circuit is perhaps going to be a much better benchmark for tire energy levels, tire hysteresis, overall tire life and downforce levels. We'll just need to wait and see for that. But I mean, wrapping up the rest of the top 10, we have Carlos Sainz over there. So it's good to see both Ferraris in the top 10. Alonso, which to be honest, I didn't expect him to be there in the top 10 given the pace of that Alpine over the preseason tests and practice. But nonetheless, it's good to see him there. I think personally, I would have also liked Ocon to be up there. That would have been a really good positive step for Alpine, given their pace is not really outright pace per se.
Yeah, only time will tell, but I think it comes back to that same old saying. You take the car, you put Fernando Alonso in it, and you shave off half a second from the performance of the car. That's what Fernando Alonso did. But we will find out tomorrow. And I mean, I'm surely expecting a very good race from Alonso tomorrow. So wherever that Alpine lands up tomorrow is going to be on quite the good merit of the driver it is in. And Carlos Sainz quite lucky. I mean, almost got chucked out of Q2 after that, after his engine stopped after the turn at turn seven. So I think he was saved only by the yellow flag, which Mazepin caused.
For sure. I don't think it's 37. I think yeah, it was just before that hill, right after the first hairpin. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, he
So,
was lucky there for sure. Just a little bit of trivia which just popped up in my mind of Alonso is actually has pretty good memories in this track. His debut race for Ferrari, his first ever race with Ferrari in 2010. The season
and
opener was
yeah,
in Shakir. It was obviously the older circuit that has that extension. Which
yeah.
apparently nobody liked, by the way, which it's just a pointless little section on the track. I personally like it, but yeah. Anyhow, that's a complex little combination for the Bahrain circuit, and he actually won there. So he's one of the drivers in the broad history of drivers who have actually won in their maiden run with their maiden team. However, I think the driver we're thinking about now, who also got his maiden victory in his maiden run with his team, is of course Max Verstappen in Spain in 2016. Now Max has definitely matured since then. I mean, it might seem blitheringly obvious right now, but I'm gonna say Max Verstappen is definitely gonna take this race. But I hope I'm proven wrong simply for the sake of an exciting race. We need a good battle up front. Could be anyone's game then.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, by the way the things are, Max Verstappen seems to be in the best place. Speaking unironically, when he's starting from P1, but also he's on the better side of the grid. Yeah, I guess I'd like to see a Ferrari on the podium, but that's just me being me. But otherwise, if I had to see another driver doing quite the job, I think it would have to be Lewis Hamilton. And, it really depends, man. If Lewis Hamilton gets a good start and he can get away, and with those tires, I think you might have a different story. But if 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 the Red Bull has the pace, what Verstappen's been showing on a recurring basis for, let's say, 40 or 50, 45 of those 50, 56 laps of sheer running, then I think Mercedes have a lot to look forward to, at least for the beginning of the season, because I think everything's going to turn around once we go to Europe.
Rightly said, Chaco. A lot of races yet to come. A very exciting season lined up. One of the longest seasons ever in F1 history. On that note, let's conclude here. A final note on who do you think are the winners and losers today in qualifying?
I think one of the biggest losers is Yuki Tsunoda. I think Yuki
Okay, yeah.
Tsunoda could cement his place at least in a top, at least 5 to 10. I think as a 20-year-old guy coming into your first race and getting into the top 10 or getting into the Q3 is something that will boost your confidence quite phenomenally. And I think he missed out now, but he certainly does have better days ahead of him. I think the biggest winner here. I think the biggest winner out of the entire pack would be I think would be Charles Leclerc. I'll be very frank. I'll be very honest with you. He seems to be in a decent place where he could challenge for podiums, or he could even upset like I don't know 2, 3, 4, 5 of the grid. But it really depends on what Ferrari puts as a strategy. But if this turns as to milk, we probably might see the kind of pace Ferrari have during the middle of the race, which is quite frankly the most important. And if that doesn't carry up, then perhaps I'd be dreadfully mistaken. But right now, I'll just stay with Yuki Tsunoda and Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you on the winner. I think aside from the top three, who are usually always there, as we see, uh, Ham, Botver. But yeah, I think yeah, I totally agree. Fourth place, Charles Leclerc. I don't think we expected him to be there. If at all, anyone would be up there. I thought it would either be Norris or Sainz, who both did not seem to perform at the potential which they showed over the past few days. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's just us being grandstands. That's just me being a grandstand engineer. I really don't know what's going on in the background. We can only speculate based off some technical knowledge. But yeah, anyhow, yeah, Leclerc definitely a potential winner. And on that note, I think the biggest losers in this whole thing, at least the biggest loser was Vettel. I just feel like okay, he may not have had the pace to get into Q3, but I'm pretty sure he would have got mid pack in Q2, at least within the Q2 grid. Um, that yeah, the yellow flag was unfortunate. But on that note, let's finish this off with something a little funny. I just saw a post. Someone posted the front view camera angle of Stroll driving his Aston Martin. Now Stroll is all blended in this car, right? Because it's a green Aston Martin. Stroll is wearing a green suit and he has a green helmet. And if you look at the reflection of the helmet, there's actually the halo on his helmet. And someone told that he looks just like Boba Fett. He's kind of wondering how Boba Fett has a chance to drive F1 cars. So okay, yeah, that's good. I'll take that up. I'll take up a Star Wars reference. I love Star Wars. So yeah, on that note, let's see. Boba was a clone, so let's hope Aston Martin can clone their performance with Mercedes. They already have Mercedes cloned engine. So I mean, let's see. Let's hope it's not a swipe. They are using the engine, but let's hope that their game goes up and is cloned on the Django prototype, which is Mercedes here. So on that note, let's see what happens tomorrow. I will see what happens later on today if you're watching this podcast. Thanks for joining us in this pre-race build-up, and we'll catch you after the first race of the season.
Ciao ragazzi.